Welcome to Headstones and Microphones, where we use AI to step into the past through a researched, first-person simulation of history's most interesting people. I am your host, Calvin. While we've added some creative storytelling, our goal is to inspire your own study of these fascinating lives. Now, let's meet our guest. For those who may somehow not know who you are you?
I'm Stevie Ray Vaughan, just a guy from Texas who fell head over heels in love with the blues and spent his life trying to let the music speak straight from the heart through 6 strings.
Love having you here, Stevie. Let's dial it back to the absolute beginning. When and where were you born?
I came into this world on October 3, 1954, right at Methodist Hospital in Dallas, Texas.
Awesome. And what was your given name at birth?
My parents named me Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Is there a story behind your birth name?
Not a whole lot of a crazy story to it, honestly. Just a classic name my folks, Jim and Martha, picked out for their second boy. Most folks just ended up calling me Stevie.
Simple and classic. I love it. What was your hometown like growing up?
We moved around a bit when I was real little. Arkansas, Louisiana, Oklahoma. But we finally planted our boots down in the Oak Cliff section of Dallas. It was a pretty typical working-class neighborhood back then. Lots of kids playing outside. But for me, once the music crept into our house, my whole world became about what was happening inside our 4 walls with a guitar.
Speaking of those walls, what was your family life like?
It was tough at times, Calvin. My dad, Big Jim, was an asbestos worker and a World War II veteran, and he struggled a lot with alcohol. He had a real fierce temper, and he could be incredibly scary to be around when things got heavy. But on the flip side, music was a big savior for us. My older brother Jimmy was my absolute hero, and our folks introduced us to music early on, which gave Jimmy and me a place to channel everything.
That sounds like a lot to carry. What kind of kid were you in the midst of all that?
Man, I was a real shy, quiet, and insecure kid. I carried a lot of that worry from home around with me, so I mostly kept to myself. I wasn't the big, outgoing type at all. I was just trying to find where I fit in.
I think a lot of people can relate to that. What were your biggest fears growing up?
A lot of it was just that unpredictability at home, fearing the next blow up or temper flare. Because of that, I was constantly afraid of not being good enough or just failing at whatever I tried. I wanted so badly to find something solid to hold on to.
And did you find that in a dream? What did you dream of becoming as a child?
Well, early on, I actually tried out the drums and even the saxophone because I was just copying whatever Jimmy was doing. But the second I got my hands on a guitar, the dream crystallized. I wanted to play music. I didn't care about being a giant star. I just wanted to play that guitar like my life depended on it.
It definitely sounds like it became your escape. What were some of your favorite activities in school?
Oh man, to be straight with you, school wasn't really my thing. My favorite activity was probably catching up on sleep or daydreaming about guitar riffs. By the time I was in high school at Justin F. Kimball High, I was playing late night gigs in clubs, so I'd show up to class completely exhausted and sleep right through the lessons. Music theory class even kicked my butt because I played entirely by ear and didn't care for the bookwork.
The true musician's path. What was your first job?
Aside from playing for literal pennies or sodas in early garage bands, one of my first real day jobs was washing dishes at a local restaurant. I remember I ended up falling right through a wooden exhaust hood into a giant pot of hot grease. After that mess, I decided right then and there that I was going to make it as a musician because the alternative was getting me fried.
Yikes. That's one way to get a wake-up call. Was there a moment where you realized you were different from everyone else?
It wasn't so much that I felt superior, but more like an obsession took over. When Jimmy left home around 16, I became completely consumed by the guitar. Other kids were thinking about sports, cars, or college, and I was just sitting in my room for hours and hours, listening to old blues records by ear, over and over, until my fingers bled. My parents didn't really understand that level of fixation.
That kind of focus is rare. What's a decision that changed everything for you, but felt small at the time?
Dropping out of high school in 1972 and packing my bags for Austin. At the time, it just felt like a necessary escape, because the Dallas scene felt a bit stifling for what I wanted to do. Austin had these incredibly tolerant, open-minded audiences. It felt like a small leap of faith to just go sleep on floors and play local clubs, but it set the entire trajectory for the rest of my life.
Austin really was the perfect birthplace for that sound. What was your biggest break?
That would definitely be July of 1982 when our band Double Trouble got booked to play the Montreux Jazz Festival in Switzerland. We actually got booed by some acoustic blues purists because we were so loud and loud rocking, but sitting in the audience that night were David Bowie and Jackson Browne. Bowie asked me to play on his Let's Dance album, and Jackson offered us free use of his recording studio in Los Angeles. That flew the doors wide open.
Talk about turning a tough crowd into a golden opportunity. What were your biggest struggles before that success hit?
Man, we starved for a long time. We lived in absolute poverty, crammed into vans, playing any dive bar that would give us a few bucks and a meal. And on top of that, I started sliding heavy into my own battles with drug and alcohol abuse, trying to keep up with the road and mask my old anxieties. It was a massive grind, both financially and physically.
Did you ever consider quitting?
It crossed my mind when things got really dark and the money was completely dry. But honestly, I don't think I actually could have quit. The guitar was my voice. Without it, I didn't know who Stevie Ray Vaughan was.
Were there any specific daily habits or routines that you feel are essential to your success?
In the early days, the routine was just continuous, relentless practice. I'd play until I had to superglue my skin back together on my fingertips. Later on, when I got sober around 1986, the essential routine became my recovery, taking time to stay centered, talking with others in the program, and making sure I approached the stage clear-headed.
That shift makes a massive difference. What job would you have had if fame never happened?
Man, I'd probably still be playing a guitar in some smoky Texas bar for tips, or maybe working a regular blue-collar gig like my dad did, just to pay for strings. I never really had a backup plan.
What was your life like right before the fame hit?
It was just a whirlwind of Texas club dates. We were the kings of the Austin scene, playing places like the Soap Creek Saloon or the Continental Club, feeling happy just to have a packed house, even if we were still wondering how we were going to pay rent the next morning.
How did your relationships change after the success came?
It adds a lot of strain, Calvin. You're on the road constantly, and everyone wants a piece of your time. My marriage to my wife Lenny ended up hitting the rocks, and we divorced in 1988. It's hard to keep things steady when you're caught in a whirlwind.
Did fame bring you happiness?
Not by itself, no sir. For a long time, it actually made things worse because I was trying to live up to this, quote, guitar hero image while drowning in addiction. True happiness didn't come until I got clean and realized I could play the blues without killing myself to do it.
What was the downside of becoming famous?
The loss of privacy and that constant pressure to deliver. People start looking at you like an object or a savior for the blues, rather than just a human being who has bad days and makes mistakes.
What misconceptions did people have about you?
A lot of folks thought that because I played with such aggression and fury on stage, I must be this wild, loud, crazy guy all the time. But deep down, I was still that same quiet, shy kid from Dallas who just loved the good soul food meal and a quiet room.
What was your darkest moment?
It was right around 1986 while touring in Europe. My body just completely gave out on me from years of using cocaine and whiskey. I collapsed on stage in Germany. I hit absolute rock bottom, looking into the abyss, realizing that if I didn't get help right that second, I wasn't going to make it much longer.
That is incredibly heavy, but glad you found the strength to turn it around. What past regrets did you carry that you spoke about?
I deeply regretted the pain I caused the people who loved me during my years of heavy drinking and drugging. I talked openly about it because I wanted people to know that you don't have to destroy yourself to be a true artist.
What's something people misunderstood about your life?
Some folks thought the music came easy to me, like magic. But it was a ton of hard work, emotional tearing open, and physical toll. Every note took a piece of me with it.
Tell me about a time when everything went wrong on stage and how did you handle it?
Oh man, back in the early days, my guitar strap would break, or I'd snap a heavy string right in the middle of a blazing solo. Instead of stopping, I'd just sling the guitar behind my back, keep working the notes with one hand, or wait for my roadie, Renee, to swoop in and swap guitars mid-song without us missing a single beat. You just gotta ride the wave.
That is legendary showmanship. Did fame and fortune change your life?
It changed my circumstances. Sure, I could buy better gear and a nice place to live, but it didn't change my soul. If anything, it forced me to strip away all the fake stuff and figure out who I really was.
What personal battles were you fighting privately?
It was always that inner critic, fighting off the old insecurities of being that lonely kid who felt unprotected, and trying to stay sober one day at a time in an industry that constantly hands you a drink.
Who had the biggest influence on your life?
Without a doubt, my brother Jimmy. He showed me the path. And right alongside him, the old masters, Albert King, B.B. King, and Jimi Hendrix. They taught me how to make a guitar cry and laugh.
Incredible lineup of teachers. What was life like in your final years?
They were actually some of the brightest, most beautiful years of my life. I was clean, I was clear-headed, and I was feeling a level of joy in my playing that I hadn't felt since I was a teenager. It felt like a fresh, beautiful start.
What were you working on in your career right before you passed away?
I had put out the In-Step album with Double Trouble, which was a huge milestone for my sobriety, and Jimmy and I had finally gotten together to record an album as brothers called The Family Style. I was so incredibly proud of doing that with him.
When and where and how did you pass away, and how old were you?
I passed away on August 27th, 1990, in a helicopter crash, foggy night in East Troy, Wisconsin, right after playing a massive, beautiful jam session at Alpine Valley with Eric Clapton and Buddy Guy. I was just 35 years old.
A tragedy that the music world still feels deeply. Let's pivot to some quick fun ones to wrap up. What's a random fact about you most people have never heard?
Well, my absolute favorite guitar, my first wife, that beat-up 1959 Fender Stratocaster with the SRV stickers, it actually started its life as a 3-color sunburst guitar before it got completely worn down to the bare wood from all my playing.
What's the craziest rumor ever told about you?
People used to say I used actual guitar strings meant for a bass on my electric guitar. Now, I did use incredibly heavy strings, custom sets starting with a .013 gauge to get that massive, thick Texas tone. But they definitely weren't bass strings, man. My fingers aren't that big.
Close enough, though. Those are heavy. What was your most unique habit?
I used to use super glue on my fingertips to keep the skin from splitting wide open during long shows. I'd glue them right back together before a set.
Brutal. What was your favorite food?
I was a huge fan of classic Southern soul food. Give me some chitlins, ham hocks, collard greens, or a big plate of Texas barbecue and Mexican food, and I am a happy man.
Did you have a favorite restaurant?
When I was hanging around the east side of Austin, I used to eat quite a bit at a spot called the Southern Dinette.
What was your favorite book?
To be honest with you, Calvin, I didn't spend much time reading novels or big books. My nose was always buried in guitar catalogs or chord charts, and later on, literature that helped me keep my head on straight in recovery.
Did you have any known rivalries?
Nah, the blues community is a big family. People tried to cook up rivalries between me and other players, but to me, music isn't a sport. We were all just trying to lift each other up.
Tell us a story nobody talks about.
The first time I ever heard the song Tin Pan Alley, which became a big staple for me, I actually heard it spinning on a jukebox at Stubbs Barbecue over in Lubbock, Texas. I loved it so much right then and there that I literally went and grabbed a tape recorder to capture it off the jukebox so I wouldn't forget it.
That is true dedication to the craft. What's your funniest behind-the-scenes moment or a time you pranked someone?
Oh man, we were always goofing around in the vans to keep from going crazy. We'd sneak up on each other while sleeping and do the classic shaving cream in the hand trick, or tickle someone's nose with a feather. Just simple, goofy stuff to pass the miles.
What was the most outlandish purchase you made?
Probably just buying more vintage guitars and hats than any one human being could ever possibly need in a single lifetime. I just couldn't resist a good hat or a sweet Strat.
You definitely rocked the look perfectly. What advice would you give people chasing success?
Play from your heart, man. Don't just try to copy someone else's licks note for note just to look flashy. Put your real emotions, your pain, your joy, your struggles, right into the music. If you're honest with your art, people will feel it.
Do you have any closing remarks about the interview or the stories you shared that you would like to share with the listeners before signing off?
I just want to tell everyone out there to take care of themselves and each other. Life can get loud and heavy, but there's always a way through the storm if you keep your heart open. Thanks so much for having me on the show, Calvin. It's been a real treat talking with you.
Wow, what an incredible journey into the heart of Texas blues. From washing dishes to rocking the world at Montreux, Stevie Ray Vaughan showed us all what it means to play with absolute honesty and soul. Thank you so much, Stevie, for sharing your story with us today. And that wraps up another conversation from Beyond the Grave. Thanks for joining us on the Headstones&Microphones podcast. Remember, legends may die, but their stories never do. Please help spread the word by sharing and following the pod.